Alright, so I've had a lot of people ask me about how I do my chicken, so I'm just going to do a quick run through of what I do to get my chickens prepped, to get them seasoned, and then toss them on the smoker. Run over the stuff we got real quick. I use just standard regular olive oil. Got Lowry's seasoning salt. I've got a couple of different ones that I use as a mix with the Lowry's. Right now I'm using the Blue Hog high flying chicken. It's really good. It's a good offset. It's not super salty. The Lowry's is salty. The other kind of adds a lot of flavor. Just some regular butter. About a half stick is what I use for 2 chickens. You want a good set of like poultry scissors, those here. And I got a big cutting board at Walmart. It was like 10 bucks or something like that. Allows me to keep most of my mess kind of contained to the board, so it's not so bad. Sometimes it gets a little off, but you know, it'll be all good. Anyway, so we're going to jump into going through spatchcocking the bird. You can see I've already done this one, so you can kind of see what it's going to look like when I'm finished. This one we're going to jump into. I'll show you how to cut, what I trim, and then we'll season both of them together, and then we'll toss them on the smoker. Let's go. Alright, so what I do first, you want to make sure that the bird is laying on its stomach, so you got the wings up, the legs are down. I have the back of it towards me, so the tail is back here. The head hole, or where the neck would be, is right up here on the front side. You want to take those poultry scissors. You're going to kind of lift the back just a little bit, find where that tail is, and you're going to take the scissors in on one side of the backbone there, and you're literally going to cut straight up across the backbone. Once you get to the front, come around, do the same thing on the other side. I generally put my finger inside the neck hole and kind of hold it there, that way there's some resistance, and then you just kind of follow that backbone line and just cut right up across. So we're going to do that real quick here. Obviously you're cutting through the ribs and some bone there, so you want to make sure you got some good poultry scissors that'll slice through that. And then just kind of work your way up across it. I stay somewhat close to the backbone. You know, there's not a lot of meat or anything you're going to be losing here, but I still stay kind of close when I trim across that. So when you get completely done, you got all that stuff cut out, that's what you've got. Now once I get that backbone cut out, the next step when you're spatchcocking is you want to find up towards the front where that breastbone is. It's going to be right there in the dead center. You're going to take those poultry scissors. I go straight down in, kind of push just a little bit, give it a little tap, and then cut. What you're doing is kind of cutting through a little bit of that breastbone. Once you get a little bit of a cut in there, I take and I put a thumb on each side of that breastbone, and you're just going to press down just a little bit so you can get that breastbone to pop. That's what allows it to kind of lay flat like this one is. So you just press down, it'll pop open. Once it pops open, you're good to go, because that's going to allow that to lay flat on that side. Now, there also tends to be a lot of extra skin. You can see some here and some fat that comes on the front where the neck was. There's also some back here at the back. So what I do next is I grab the bird, I just flip it straight over and lay it flat. And then this is where I do my trimming to get off any of that excess stuff that you want to not have in there. For the front, where the breasts are, I take, there's a membrane in there that kind of holds the skin to the meat. I take and just run my finger up in and try to slowly separate that membrane from the skin. And why I do this is because I'll turn around and take and throw some butter in there so that it can seep down through on the inside, a little bit of seasoning in there as well, and that way it really allows the inside to have great flavor and all. And just kind of pull some of this out as you're getting through it. Once you get that good and separated, I'm going to spin it back around so it's closer to me. Then I just take, and any of that excess extra skin that's hanging down on the front where the neck used to be, or any of that fat that's right in there, I'll just take and trim that stuff out. Definitely want to leave enough skin to cover the breast there though. The biggest thing with these chickens is you want to have the chickens with the skin on, the full chicken, because that skin locks in the moisture and everything. It allows the smoke to get into the meat but it doesn't dry the outside of the meat itself out. If you put the meat on there raw, it's going to draw that moisture out of the outside layer of the meat. It's still good and it locks it in, but it's not the same. The outside of the chicken breast itself ends up feeling a little bit tough rather than being super moist and real juicy like mine tend to be, and that's the big secret is just the skin. So once you get that all cleaned out, you got that good to go. Same thing, you're gonna look back here on the back side. You can see there's a big old chunk of like skin and stuff back here that they leave. So I trim that off. You may have a little edge of the breast that are sticking out. That's not a big deal because it'll lay down over, but for the most part, just leave enough skin down there that's on there and that's covered. I'm gonna trim that off, spin it around here real quick. Trim that little bit off so that's out of the way. When you're cutting back there, if you're a dark meat person, you can also just keep an eye on it, because if you trim too much, you can get into the thigh a little bit. But most of the time there's a lot of extra back there, and you can see there's like not any meat or anything on it. It's just skin and a little bit of fat. By removing this stuff too, then once your chicken is finished and you pull it off the grill, you'll literally take and run a little cut along the skin right here, and you can pull the whole quarter. It'll literally slide right off because you've got everything else out of the way already. So, okay, I'm gonna toss this. Now we get to the fun part. We get to season them up, add a little bit of flavor. All right, when it comes to seasoning, I start with the olive oil. I take and I just hit the skin all across there. So you put a good light layer across it. This is basically just your binder. It helps your seasoning stick to it, so that everything's not just like falling off or rolling off as it starts to have a little bit of juice or whatever. I'll take that and just kind of give it a light rub so that it's even across all the meat. Looks like I missed a little piece of that skin right there. Let me just trim that real quick. Okay. And just give that a quick rub down so that that oil is all over the outside. Next, I grab the butter that we pulled out, or that I mentioned earlier. I don't take and like cut this into specific pieces or whatever. You could if you wanted to. I normally just take and break pieces off, kind of like that, and then I just shove it up underneath that flap that we made underneath earlier. Kind of push it down in there a little bit so it's down in. And I normally do a couple on each one. So I'll put one big piece of butter on each side to start, and then whatever I have left, I take and I'll just kind of break down between the two and throw a little bit more in there. That butter really helps add that flavor on the inside under the skin, and helps they just stay so juicy and really good there. So butter's important in my opinion. Okay. All right, so we grab the Lowry's. I normally go with the Lowry's first and just put a good coat across it. The Lowry's is pretty salty, but this is gonna be smoked over a few hours. Some juice comes out and everything else. So, I mean, you wanna put a good coating on it so it almost gives it a little bit of an orange tint, but don't go too heavy-handed. If you go too heavy-handed when you're done, if you're a skin person and you like to eat some of that skin, especially off like the quarters or whatever, a lot of people like to eat the skin, or the wings, they're gonna get a little too salty. So good coating across the whole thing, but not so heavy-handed that you know, you're gonna taste the salt down the road. So get a good coating of that on there. When I finish with that, I grab the Blue Hog and I go across it. This has like dried onion and a couple other flavors in there, and so again, same kind of idea. We're throwing an even coating across it. It's heavier and more coarse, so I don't go quite as heavy as I do with the Lowry's, but I still put a handful on there so it's even spaced out across it. We got a good layer across it all. And that's pretty much it. From there, I throw one of my meat probes down into the breast. I normally just check the breast with the meat probe. As they are getting cooked, I'll check a temp out in the thigh as well. But I normally set the smoker between 225 and 250. If it's colder, today's a cold day, I have it up around 250 to help keep that temperature up so that they don't take quite as long, but they're still going to cook for a good probably 4 hours or so. I normally put them on around noon, between noon and 1 o'clock, and I'm normally pulling them off around 5. Sometimes as late as 6. You just got to watch that temp, but just toss them on there. I close it up and I don't open it for at least 3 hours. I let it get good solid smoke without allowing any air to get in there, any extra cold air or whatever, keeping that temperature in and just allowing them to cook. Watch your temps. When you get up, your breast temperature is going to be, I like mine around 170 to 175, and normally that puts the thigh somewhere around 190 to 200-ish, normally, hit or miss. But just watch your temperatures. Obviously you need to be at least 165 with the chicken. I like to go just a little bit over, so I feel like it's good, but yet it's not going far enough that it's going to dry it out. So that's it. We're going to throw these on the smoker, let them get cooked up and nice and brown. That skin will brown up and all. I'll do one last shot as I'm pulling them off so you can see what they look like. But follow this and hopefully your chickens turn out good. I love it. This is my favorite way to do them. Hope you enjoy it. All right, and here we go. And after a few hours, that's what they're going to look like. Skin gets crispy, meat stays juicy. Hope you like it.